My name is Bboy Ynot. I'm an artist. I like to call myself an artist, even though I'm mostly known as a b-boy. Been participating in hip hop for probably over 20 years. I say hip hop because I'm someone who's interested in the culture as a whole. You know, like I said, I'm known as a b-boy, but b-boying is kind of like just one layer of things that I'm interested in. I like the visual, I like the music, I like the dance, I like everything about it, and that's really what got me interested in hip hop in the first place. So, you know, why not? That name just kind of came about through a state of mind as well as like my actual name. So my name is Anthony, but for short, you know, I'm called Tony, and which is what everybody pretty much called me in school. And when I kind of started getting into writing, I would write my name, you know, regular, then kind of top to bottom, then forward and backwards, and then that's when I realized that Tony backwards says why not. So I kind of got the name through that, and then I looked at the meaning of what why not is, and it's just like really an expression to just be like, look, I'm gonna just go for take chances, basically. You know, why not? Let's do this. You know, let's push forward. You know, so it's pretty much a futurist kind of mentality at the same time. My early influences have been like was first probably musicians, music, right? So James Brown has definitely been a huge influence on me, just starting and getting introduced into hip hop. Leonardo da Vinci, I don't know, Bugs Bunny, there's like Muhammad Ali, there's all these different kind of influences that started speaking to me in different ways. And when I found hip hop, I found like this is my place, because I realized that hip hop took from multiple influences and kind of created its own ideas. So I felt home in hip hop. So that's why I kind of got into the music and the dance and the art. The earliest people that I've met that were like a real connection to the culture were Crazy Legs, Mr. Wiggles. They were like the first two to really like speak to me and then kind of share these ideas with me, which both kind of took me under their wing and showed me the ropes of like what is this whole movement, what does it represent, what's the history of it, like listening to their stories. They were a huge influence on me. Meeting Pop Master Fable around the same time, like just the whole Rocksteady crew at that moment were like people that were really influential to the scene in general, but specifically to myself, definitely. And this is like, you know, mid-90s, something like that. In terms of writing, you know, Wiggles was always kind of doing that, Fable was always doing that. Frosty Freeze was the first person I seen really tag kind of in front of me, so that was like, you know, another thing. Rest in peace, Frosty Freeze. I eventually ran into, I met Kel first, which is Mayor 139's brother, but I met him through a mutual friend, and then he was like working on some web design stuff, and I ended up like kind of helping him out and working with him a little bit. From there, I got introduced to Mayor, and I got more introduced to Mayor's work before I even met him in person. So he was already an influence to me before I even met him as a person. And the first thing I saw were like these sculptures, you know, and I've seen his pieces before and some of his, you know, his work on the train, and then just some sketches, but then I see like this sculpture and I'm like, what is this? You know, like it's crazy. And already like I was hooked on that image, because I was like, man, this is like not what I'm used to seeing. Like it's not what I see everybody else kind of doing. So it looked really progressive to me. It looked really different. So, you know, I started asking more about what this is. Eventually I met him in person a few times, and you know, he shared, you know, a lot of just stories with me and just kind of speaking with me about certain things. And he's definitely someone that I look towards right now for information, more inspiration, and of course just like, you know, I watch what he's doing because I think it's really interesting. So he's had a huge influence on how I'm kind of deciding to like take the route that I'm going now. So I'm really looking for ways to connect all the stuff that I've really been interested in at this point. So all my influences now, I'm trying to find maybe this through line, I guess, of what this all means. And then once I figure out what it means, I'm gonna try to decide then where do I go with all this information, because it's a lot. I mean, for one person to like even do, you know, everything that I'm interested in, it gets a little much. And I'm getting older and more responsibilities are kind of coming into play, so I don't know if I can always just kind of like put things down to be like, let me work on this project, you know. But it's been kind of like my life's work to do all these things at the same time. So yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens from here on out. But I can definitely say that those people that I've mentioned are probably some of the heaviest guys that have definitely played a part in the way I think today. I think I don't consider myself really even a writer. I think really, you know, I know there's kind of mixed perceptions on what that would be, I guess. For me, it's kind of past a time period where you can really truly write. You know, I felt like writing really kind of got its start from riding on the trains, and because there's no real riding on the trains, you know, you kind of miss out on that whole going to the train yard, you know, getting your name up, watching it just ride through the city. You miss out on that, the moving canvas. So I guess a piece of that is lost for me, and because I've like really got into the history of it, I feel like I definitely missed out on something really important. So have I done murals and have I painted? Yes, I have. I've used spray paint, I've used oil paint, I've used all types of mediums in terms of like doing art, visual art. But you know, the understanding of the letter I think is the most important part when it comes to the graffiti or writing. And you know, I kind of stay true to the tradition of that, and from the people that I've learned from, you know. So you have a lot of crews that were very much into this whole like idea of what letter form and structure is, and learning about that, I've took that to a different place after seeing people like Mayor 139, for instance, like who totally took the idea of a letter coming off of a wall and now it's in 3D space. Three-dimensional space. So for me, it's like, you know, it's beyond the wall at this point, and I'm really just interested in where it could go. And I don't want to disrespect the you know, the true way of writing to say that I call myself a writer or a graffiti artist, because, you know, maybe I didn't pay my dues in that sort of way, because I am also of a later generation, and I'm also interested in something that's completely different. You know, so that's what I would say to that. But yeah, that's my mindset. I want to see where it can go. So I'm using the concepts and the ideas of what people would use for writing, and trying to see where I can take it. I think in the beginning it was just hearing stories that everyone was a writer, you know. Everybody who MC'd was a writer, DJs were writers, B-boys were writers. I just kept hearing that. Then I found out later on a lot of punk people who were in punk music were writers. Like it seemed like everyone just kind of did it. It was like a New York pastime, I guess. And I started challenging that concept by asking people to like, hey, could you write in my book, you know, and yeah, everyone had some type of stylized way of signing their name, you know, from B-boys to MCs to like other people that I really respected in the culture. So I think writing plays a very huge part in identification. You know, it's probably the first thing that most people do as they're to identify themselves as like a logo almost. Like, you know, if when you sign a check or something like that, or if you sign a piece of paper, your signature is basically what that is. You know, it's your hand style. It's the way that it's your aesthetic. It's what you choose to go with, a long loopy line or a sharp, you know, whatever you want to throw a star or some kind of happy face in there, like whatever it is that you do that represents yourself. You add that to your hand, and I think that that will always be something in hip hop that you kind of can't overlook, and it's almost like a staple. And I've just really been studying what that means at this point, like to have that as a part of your actual practice, whether it is you choose writing as a main focus or not. You know, I just think it'll always be present in whatever it is you do if you call yourself hip hop. I think that's what this is about, really. It's about passing on information. It's about sparking conversation, sharing ideas, you know, and just oral traditions and stuff like that. You know, telling stories, whether it be through, you know, sitting down and powwowing, or like actually putting some history inside some music or some visual. I think it's really important. I appreciate people's cultures. Like, I've been traveling so much these past couple years that it's like when I go somewhere, I can really get a feel of what those people are like. But I also get a sense of like a globalization happening, that I see things that I see at home, and I'm like, nah, like what is this? I didn't sit on a plane for 20 hours to come and have a very similar experience. I come to have a different experience. And I think if more of these kind of traditions and values of like people's own cultures kind of they don't get passed down to generations, like that's what happens. Like then these things get lost. And you know, I consider hip hop to be more of my culture. Like, I'm an American for sure, you know. I'm an Italian American, but I don't consider myself Italian so much because I've been to Italy, and there's a disconnect a bit there for me because I didn't grow up in that environment, you know, and I wasn't around my family long enough to even pick up on those values and stuff like that. So, you know, I definitely consider myself Italian American, hip hop, you know, whatever that is, you know what I mean? I just feel more comfortable with saying that. So it's a mixture of a couple of things, but you know, I also, when I sit down and I study the history of hip hop, there's like something there that I'm like, okay, we can't lose that. Like there's these things in here, we can't lose these things, these values. So passing it down is what helps that kind of continue, and you also have to be comfortable with just like kind of letting that go, and maybe the next generation wants to put their own little, you know, twist on it, and you really can't say anything about that. You kind of just got to stay true to like your time period, and do what you feel comfortable, and let them do whatever it is they want to do because they're gonna do it anyway, pretty much. So. As long as you kind of do your part by like, you know, representing as best as you can for yourself and your generation, but passing it on, at least showing the kids what it is that you've done, or you know, what you've seen other people do, then you're really staying true to the art form, I think. Upcoming artists, man, it's just like do your homework, do your history, you know. Because if you want to know where you want to go, you have to see where things have been. Once you see where they've been, and you can become then more present in your own moment, because you realize what's been then, what is now, and then you can kind of see into the future. So that's all I would say to upcoming artists, is that, you know, just be, you know, as true as you can to yourself, and concentrate on your fucking craft, period. There's nothing else that really matters. Concentrate on your craft. All this other bullshit, politics and things like that happen, means absolutely nothing when it comes down to you and your craft. So I would just say, work on your craft, learn your history, be in the present moment, and look towards the future.